Good afternoon. I'm Councillor Garth Simpson, Chairman of the Personnel Committee, and I'm assisted by, I will hopefully be assisted by Vice Chairman Councillor Jeff Brooks. The other members of the committee are Councillors Adrian Abbs, Peter Argyle and Joe Stewart. Abby Wisting is the professional officer who will be advising the meeting. Myra Fraser is the clerk and Linda Pye is the Zoom host. I'll ask Myra now to explain how the meeting will be conducted.
Members, standard Zoom reminders are going to be shown on the screen in a moment. If it becomes necessary for any members to telephone into the meeting, you won't be able to signal to speak. So once everyone who has raised a Zoom hand has spoken, I will inform the chairman and he will ask you to then make your point. Voting on all items at this meeting will be done by physically raising your hand, as there are only 5 members on the committee. Unless the committee asks for that vote to be recorded, the names of how people voted will not be recorded in the minutes. If we need to adjourn the meeting at any point, if it's a short adjournment, we can come back using the link that you've just been sent. If the adjournment is longer than that, then of course we will send you revised arrangements of how to join the meeting. That's all from me. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Myra. Chairman, welcome to everyone who's joined. Could the clerk give us any apologies, please?
Chairman, I understand that Councillor Jeff Brooks is hoping to join the meeting, but he's currently stuck in traffic.
Okay. Are members willing to accept the minutes of the previous meeting as an accurate record? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Adrian, yes.
Sorry.
Right. That's my obligation to sign them. So I'll do that in front of you and wave it at you.
Chairman, just to say that from that show of hands, we can confirm that the minutes have been approved.
Yeah, okay. So let's just critique them though. Page 20, sorry. Right, page 3. Any problems? No. Do I take silence, being there are no problem?
I had no amendments to make, Chair.
No, page 4. Anybody?
No,
okay,
at all
I will then sign them. Done. Okay. Can I have a proposer, please? And will that be Joe Stewart?
Yeah, happy to propose.
And as a seconder, please, Peter Argyle. Thank you. Clerk, please.
Chairman, I can confirm that those minutes have been approved as an accurate record of the meeting.
Thank you. Right, do I have any declarations of interest, please?
Chairman, we have not been informed of any in advance of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Right, we're now looking at the apprenticeship strategy and its implementation. Could Abby Wisting please give the report?
Thank you, Chairman. This report is to put together the strategy that goes around the apprenticeship work that we do. The apprenticeship levy was introduced in April 2017. At that time, the council, via the steering group, focused the funds on upskilling existing staff. And we now have a well-established apprenticeship scheme in progress. But we are keen to be more ambitious with our strategy, and therefore we have developed this the strategy document that you have all received in the pack and various associated documents. In particular, we're looking to broaden the remit to support our vulnerable children and adults, as well as local businesses. So this report is seeking approval of the apprenticeship strategy and the associated documents, which capture both the current practice that we have already in place and our future ambitions in relation to supporting the vulnerable within our society in West Berkshire. The documents also provide additional support for staff, managers, schools and businesses in terms of how to access the apprenticeship levy and to make sure we've made using the levy as easy and as straightforward as possible. In addition, we are looking for support from this committee. They cannot approve it, but we're asking for their support to go forward for some additional resource. Both Corporate Board and Operations Board, who have had this report prior to Personnel Committee, were in favour of this, to increase the assistant HRO post, which supports apprenticeships, from 0.6 to 1 FTE. The value quoted in the report is 13,157, but that's based on current year's salary. So the actual cost for 21-22 would be £16,060, including on costs. So that's what we're seeking to move forward. That would have to go to Budget Board, which is due to be take place tomorrow, I believe. The strategy contains a number of ambitions.
Chair, may I just ask a question as we go along, or would you like them waiting to the end, Abby?
I'll leave it to the chairman to decide how he wants to take the questions.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, please. Could you repeat that, David?
It's really, I have a question for Abby, Chair. Is that okay to ask questions as we go along, as she's presenting on information?
I would personally prefer that we just go through a presentation. You make a list, and like everybody else, you take it from there. Thank you.
Chair.
Okay. I won't be going through the full information pack. I'm just going to go through this executive summary just to bring together the details. So we have 7 ambitions. One is to identify apprenticeship opportunities and embed these across the council. Number 2 is to actively promote apprenticeships within the council, both as a recruitment tool and also as part of retention strategies, and to foster and encourage a learning and development culture. We wish to utilise higher level apprenticeships to support succession planning, personal development and recruitment and retention, and also to develop our future leaders. Number 4 is to maximise the use of levy spend and increase the number of apprenticeship starts with a view to meeting our public sector target. Number 5, in the capacity of our corporate parent role, we look to enable apprenticeships for our looked after children, SEND pupils and NEETs. To clarify, SEND is Special Educational Needs and Disabilities pupils, and NEETs refers to not in employment, education or training. We look to encourage work experience placements and or traineeships as a pathway to an apprenticeship, and promote apprenticeships to local businesses within West Berkshire. Approval of the above will enable us to help commit our commitment to equality and diversity as set out in our equality in employment policy. And it also relates to the strategic priorities of the council strategy, the autism strategy and the SEND strategy. Having an ambitious apprenticeship strategy makes it clear that the council is an advocate for apprenticeships, values learning and development, and is willing to, as the phrase goes, put its money where its mouth is and support our residents, and in particular our vulnerable children and adults. So that's a summary of what the report is about.
Thank you very much, Abby. As a piece of advice, and I throw this into the pot amongst members to see whether it's constructive in the use of our time. If there's any merit in going first through the strategy, then the documents, and then the request for an endorsement of the extra resources, does that meet with people's approval? It may be a poor idea. I'm quite open to you saying, no, I just wish to raise my own questions and that's it.
Well, I have a factual question. I'd like to understand the number that Abby used to make sure have been presented.
Yes, please go ahead. And other people, Peter, do you want to prioritise it sequentially, or are you just wanting to?
No, I'm happy, Chairman, just to carry on.
Okay, fine. Let's do that then. Right. Let's have Adrian Abbs's question answered.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. So, Abby, you mentioned a number of the salary, and it's going to go from 0.6 to 1, so it becomes a full-time employee. That's the salary, correct? It's not the cost of the...
No, it's salary plus on costs. So that is
So that includes pension and things. So,
correct. Yes.
So the number you gave us, 16,000, is including pension.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. We also then went on to talk about hiring policies and diversity and all the things that we all agree with. Are we conducting blind type hiring on this, or are we specifically applying a positive lens to?
So in relation to our recruitment practices at the moment, we don't currently have blind applications. That is something that is actually being considered under a different strategy, which is the workforce strategy. And obviously, should any decision be made in the future for our recruitment practices as a whole to change, then that would be reflected within this the apprenticeship strategy process. So our recruitment processes for apprentices broadly follows the general recruitment practices we have in place.
Yeah, I'm very keen to avoid any kind of bias, and blind hiring practices tend to guarantee that you have no bias because you can't tell.
Yeah, what I would say is that the equalities data around applications is not shared with recruiting managers as a matter of course. So HR have access to that data, and when the shortlisting comes back, would review that to ensure that we are meeting, for example, our disability confident requirements, etc. But the recruiting managers do not receive that equality data. I appreciate that's not quite the same as blind applications, and I'm not suggesting it is, but just to let you know, there is already an element of safeguarding in relation to that in place.
Thank you very much, Abby. Thank you, Chair.
I have Councillor Stewart with her blue hand up.
Yep, thank you, Chairman. I wanted, and I may be stealing your thunder, Chairman, so I apologise if I am, but I just wanted to say thank you to Abby and the team involved in pulling all of this strategy together. Not only this strategy, but also all of the work that they have been doing to get us to this point. I think nobody should underestimate the amount of additional sort of effort and enthusiasm that has gone into getting us to this position. And I know that, Abby, I think we've got some good news in terms of West Berks and where we are with our, whether we're meeting our, do we call it a quota? Quotas normally. No, in terms of the spending our pot of money, could even be that. So I think we need to, what we need to do is think about the fact that we've got ourselves to a really good place. There is more that we can do. I like the fact that the strategy talks about Kickstart as well and where that fits in, because I think there may be questions that could have been asked around, well, how do we decide as an employer, so whether it's West Berks as an employer or indeed other businesses in the area, whether they go down the Kickstart route or whether they go straight to apprenticeship. But actually in this document, I think you've described the fact that the two can run from one to another, and actually one supports the other, which I think is really important. And I will have some questions probably later on about some of the objectives that we've set ourselves in our KPIs. But yes, really at this point, I just wanted to sort of recognise the fact that you and your team have got us to this point, and to say thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And
thank you very much.
I accord with that sentiment, because I think the documents are very comprehensive and clearly have benefited from, have a maturity in them of having been taken through the live process of testing out in the real world. Do I have any questions from Peter?
No, Chairman.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Hold on. No, Chair.
Okay, fine. Right. I have a question to ask. It's really about the sustainability of your strategy. I mean, the strategy is very comprehensive. It's got 7 objectives, but you're busy, very busy people, and we know you've been busy on this. You have 2 major customers, our authority and its schools, plus the secondary one of SMEs in West Berkshire. You've got multiple training entities, a necessary ongoing publicity initiative in order to make the network of apprenticeship training understood across the entire community. And it's something that you can't just let it jog along. It needs to be as quickly as possible, and hopefully in a post-COVID world where everybody's much more online, this becomes an easier task. And then you've listed all your social objectives and inclusion of many factors. And then there's a quick start initiative. So I'm really making a plea. How confident are you can sustain it and keep up the vigorous track record you have, where primarily in the last 2 years, you've had it's been, if you like, an internal affair with your schools and the corporate.
Thank you for that question, Chairman.
Long introduction to a simple question.
That's fine, no problem. I've got all those points. So in terms of sustainability, I'm confident that we can sustain this. We've had a proven track record over the last 3 years, which we haven't been in the luxury of a position where HR or elements even of HR have been able to work exclusively on apprenticeships and nothing else. So this is one of the things we have always had in our minds, along with many other projects. We also have a plan in place to manage the demand and workload to fit in with enrolment schedules. So some training providers only take 1 intake, for example, in September, so for degrees, master's programs. Others will, such as accountancy, have a twice a year, and others have a rolling program. We're now very clear about which of our programs are rolling programs, generally our adult social care, and then the merits of having cohorts at certain times of the year for other things such as project management, etc. So we are now in the process of putting together an annual plan of which months certain things will happen, and therefore the lead-in time to all of those. The objectives that we have put in place are challenging, but I am confident because of the network we are building. We've got excellent relationships with training providers. We've got excellent relationships with local training providers as well, our colleagues in education. Although this apprenticeship strategy is driven by HR and out of HR, we have very good links in with our local schools, our SEND team, our post-16 team. So we are all working on this together. We also have the backing and support of the economic development team. So in terms of the talking to local businesses and keeping those links going, which has been really helped by the Kickstart programme, because that's really had an initiative behind it to actually sort of act as a catalyst in relation to that. And we have 60 placements that have come forward. 13 of those are in West Berkshire Council, but the remainder are from local businesses. So we now have connections with local businesses that we can utilise. And obviously the plan, if we are able to, is to convert as many of those Kickstart placements, which are a 6-month fully funded 25-hour placement, into actual apprenticeships at the end. So I'm as confident as I can be, you know, bearing in mind any future pandemics or anything else that might blindside us. Yeah, as much as I can be, I'm confident that we have that in place. And by identifying some additional resource, that will only help to facilitate that. And of course, what we've now got is a really good framework from this strategy and its documents to help support that. So yeah, I'm as confident as one can be.
Thank you for that. I mean, having come from a business background, you know, I have an eye always on the SMEs, and which are much more dependent than larger companies for connectivity into these kinds of activities, and it's something that needs to be sustained. So when you enter your budget process, which is starting right now, may I entreat that consideration is given to whether, even so, with your confidence, that if the negotiations about cost centres as they ensue, if you feel you can be successful in that little extra contingency, from my heart, it would be appreciated. Thank you. Maybe Joe wishes to discuss the KPRs. I don't know. Thank you very much. Now I have Adrian Abbs and then Joe Stewart. Adrian, would you like to come in, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Abby, excuse me, 4.4 strategy contains the following ambitions, 7 of them. Number 3, utilise higher level apprenticeships. When I first read that, I thought, oh, great, we're beginning to resolve the issue of, you know, senior people, the senior posts being basically only very few people applying for them. In that, I think the last 3 executive posts or the directorships, they've basically been 1 or 2 people that we've been choosing from, which from a businessman like Garth, I always find that a little hard. But then when I read a little bit more detail on that at 4.3, it actually talks about it as being an existing opportunities for existing staff. Are we really looking at that higher level apprenticeship as only for internal staff, or is that just I'm missing something in that paragraph?
Okay, so obviously apprenticeships could form part of the offer when we go out to advert. So if somebody was coming on board, a new member of staff came on board, as we've recently recruited to exec director place, for example, if that individual who's coming on board would like to develop, then that would obviously be something we could look at. We're talking here about degree. When I talk about higher level, we're talking about degrees, and we're talking about masters. So obviously in some cases, some of the senior roles require those already as part of their job description. I will come back to the discussion about numbers in a moment, if I may, on applicants, because I have some detail on that which I can share with you. So what we are also trying to do is look at some succession planning. So we have a number of things within the workforce strategy that link in with this. So we're going to do some workforce planning training, and with that utilised to try and find career pathways. And so, for example, if I take the social worker degree, we have people who come in as family support workers who then go on the social work degree, which then means they can go on to those higher level posts, etc. So there is a mix of things about, and there's more around the senior development, which comes into the workforce strategy, but there are apprenticeships here. I myself am currently studying for a master's in public sector management and leadership, and we have just enrolled a cohort of another 5 individuals this year onto that same programme, which
may I make a very small suggestion then, because I completely misread or misunderstood what you meant by higher level. If you're simply graduate, you know, I would have understood straight away. A graduate apprenticeship. I would have understood.
Okay, I was using the term. Yeah, sorry, I'm using the terminology that the apprenticeship scheme and the ESFA use. They talk about those as high level apprenticeships.
Okay.
So,
worst case, in the same
yeah,
way,
I understand what you're saying. I'll make note of that.
You've got a jargon buster down below.
Of course, I'll add that in. Thank you. That's a useful comment.
Thank you. I see a blue hand.
Oh, sorry. Can I just pick up on the numbers that Councillor Abbs was referring to? Just because I've just done some recent data on that one. So bear with me 1 second. I'll just pull that data up so I've got it in front of me.
It's not for my question next week, is it, Abby, that you've...
Yes, it is for your question.
We could save it till then. Then.
Going to get it twice.
Well, I'm happy to provide it now or to as well as next week. It's your choice.
I don't mind, to be honest. It's a question I'm curious about. Otherwise, I wouldn't in the first place. So.
Well, let me bring it in here, and it can come through next week as
we can
well.
we can always take it away from the questions at exec next week, and if it's sad,
Absolutely. So what I have done is I have done an exercise looking at the last 3 years of senior recruitment. In that time, we have had, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4. 13 senior recruitment processes. So senior roles within this council are referring to those that are chief executive, service director, and exec director posts. So just to, and would have been head of service posts. We are moving away from the head of service posts to the service director. So we have had a significant, we've never had less than 5 applicants where it's been internal, external appointments. There have been 3 appointments which have been internal only, and that's because they're part of the SMR that we're currently going.
How many did you say, Abby?
We've had 3 internal only appointments. That is in relation to the fact they're to do with the reorganisation, and so therefore are in accordance with our organisational change and redundancy policy. Those would be initially ring-fenced to internal staff. But on average, with the 15 roles we've had at least 5 people shortlisted for interview. And in the most recent role that we advertised for executive director place, we actually had 46 applications for that post and took 6 through to shortlisting. And what I would say is out of those recruitment processes, only 1 has not been recruited to first time.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Welcome, Councillor Brooks.
I do apologise, Chairman. I will blame Councillor Pask running the speed review limit task group.
Not quickly enough.
Very important item, absolutely, Chair. Very important item in my own ward, and forgive me, Chairman, that ran on later. It looks and sounds to me as if you're almost at the end of the business, Chairman. But I had a couple of points on the apprenticeship strategy, as you know. Do you still need me to make them, or were they covered, sir?
They haven't been covered. So can I schedule you ahead of Councillor Stewart?
Yes, I'll allow Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. So I had 2 points really. One was on the training, and you make reference to the fact that the levy could be seen as necessarily and properly as a training fund, as a training budget line. But my question would be, are we making sure that hiring managers, service heads aren't reducing their training budget because the levy fund comes to the rescue? This is supposed to be additional rather than instead of, I contend. And the other thing is, I did go onto the website. I did search apprenticeships. I think it could be a whole lot better in its response. On the recruitment page where it shows our vacancies, there's nothing there about apprenticeships at all. That's probably the software, because it isn't a live job. I know, Abby, you can see what I'm getting at. But if I come in looking for a job and I'm potentially an apprentice, I should keep being driven towards the areas which tell me as an apprentice what I need to do next. You have one very good testimonial on there, but I feel it would be better with a picture of a happy smiling candidate and a little bit more sizzle and pizzazz with it. There are, the website is our window, a shop window, and there's always room for improvement. So those are my 2 points, Chairman, as I discussed with you the other evening. and I hope
Yes.
we can cover them. Thank you.
More than happy to follow up with that. So on the first question regarding training, the apprenticeship levy is a training budget, but it has very specific rules and regulations that are around it. So it can only be used for training courses that are a minimum of 12 months in length and are against an approved standard, etc. So I am not aware, although I'm not finance, so I don't see all the budgets, but I can talk personally from the HR budget. We still have a HR training budget that is for other training that wouldn't be funded via the levy, because not everything can be funded by the levy. So this is an additional budget to training budgets.
I think through you, Chairman, I'm giving Joe a little nod and a wink that as they put the budget together, do they see any reductions in training lines, and wondering perhaps why, or probing why. But thank you, Abby. I understand.
I think this was considered.
The rules, yeah.
Yeah, I think this was considered as to whether this would be, because all training could therefore be done by apprenticeships. There was a piece of work done at the very beginning of apprenticeship levies, and we've dealt with that question because it isn't possible for all training to be covered by the apprenticeship levy. So there has been no top slicing of training budgets or anything like that as far as I am aware.
Thank you, Jeff. I will pick it up because we've got budget board tomorrow. So, and I've also got a portfolio holder briefing in the morning. So I will definitely bring it up then.
Thank you.
So going on to your other questions. So you are correct. If you went onto the recruitment pages at present, you may not see any roles relating to apprenticeships. That's because we haven't particularly got any out to advert. We do have a separate apprenticeships page, which is quite glossy and upbeat. What I will do is make sure that there is a link from that page on the other recruitment page. What I would also say is we also have in our workforce strategy a wider piece of work looking at the website and our recruitment ways we're going to do recruitment to try and improve and update what we've got. So there is other work in progress because we want to make our obviously website as attractive as possible. The final point of reference to the quotation, I have only recently requested some more quotes from apprentices because they've been very much, we were only just getting to some of them, getting through the their actual apprenticeship. There is an appendices within this document pack which lists a number of quotes from apprentices, and I have requested photos, and a handful of people have agreed to put their mugshot on the website, and so we will follow up with that with the comms team, because what I will do ultimately is put some of these quotes and some of these pictures within an apprenticeship strategy document. This is not how the apprenticeship strategy will look when it is published. Similar to the gender pay gap and other strategies, we will go into that nice corporate template we have, and then I will add in some more information as part of that to help boost that. So I hope that helps to reassure you.
Because nothing breeds success like success.
Absolutely.
Tell them all the good news stories and the happy faces if you can get them, and you are then showcasing the success stories, and you'll get more people keen to, be involved. Thank you.
Could I just draw attention to a couple of other bits in terms of success stories, if I may do a little bit of bragging here on behalf of the council. A few things that I would like to say is we did have an apprenticeship, what they call an apprenticeship MOT, back in September 2019, although it feels like an eternity ago, where there was a local government association come in and do an audit. So it's a bit like a peer challenge type approach, and audited our apprenticeship process and how we're doing. And so they have, I think it's 5 different areas, and they rate you on the maturity of where you're at. We were in developing plus maturing, or maturing plus in all of those cases, which basically compared to the other 74 councils, we were ahead of the game. So I'd like to say that. The second thing is we have recently had an LGA SFAR report, which I can send links to, which has noticed that we are the only Berkshire authority to have achieved our apprenticeship target in 2019-20. None of the other Berkshire authorities managed to do that, and we have. That we are one of only, I think it was 64 councils to achieve that. The other thing I would like to say, sorry, I'm bragging shamelessly
We can't
here.
give you a raise in salary.
No, it's all right. I know. I'm not asking. We have also been featured on the gov.uk bulletin that goes out to all local authorities. So on the 23rd of November, we were cited as the authority doing so much with the Kickstart scheme. And there's actually a full article on the government website about West Berkshire as a case study for the work we have been doing with apprenticeships and Kickstart. Bragging over. Stop.
Congratulations. Right. Are you satisfied with your answers?
Very much so. And
thank you very much.
yes, I, as you know, we spoke about this, and
Yeah.
it looks a robust strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Councillor Stewart.
Thank you. Abby, never apologise for bragging when you've got the opportunity, because it doesn't always come along, does it? But there you go. So there were some really good points that you raised there, Jeff, and I know that in particular about the council website in general, we are very aware that we have quite a bit of work to do to make some improvements in lots of different areas to make it appeal to all of our audiences, to make it easy to use. And as you know, we have this covered under the digital strategy, but it's one of those things. It's almost like, where do you begin? So this is definitely something that is on our list, because clearly we want to attract more people in to work with us, and actually we want to attract some people that can help us deliver that digital strategy. So you know, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'm glad you raised it. It is one that's very much on, I think, a lot of people's minds, and in particular, and I think it's mentioned in the document, we're very keen to make sure that we do the most we can with the campaigns around the apprenticeship week. And I'm going to forget when it is, Abby, but you'll remind me, I'm sure.
It's a week in February. I can check the dates, but yes, we will do, obviously we'll do the social media campaigns, etc. But we will be holding a number of probably virtual events related to Apprenticeship Week. I will check the date while you continue.
But I think the point around the glossy, the faces to stories and more stories. I know you shared some other stories with me that are positive situations, even where we've had some of our young people join, and maybe the fit hasn't been quite right, but we've actually been able to sit down with them and work out what the right fit would be. And have been able to move them into a different role where they've thrived. So I think those sorts of positive stories are really, really valuable, and in particular to any young people that are looking to come and work with us. Because for some, it could be a scary thing, or it could be a thing that they feel are not interested in. We need to make sure that we're really sort of selling ourselves. Abby,
Apprenticeship Week is the 8th of February.
8th of February.
Week commencing the 8th
I must
of
get it in
February.
my diary.
I think if I may, Chairman, just
Yes.
I'm grateful for Joe's response there. I hope we've now got to the point to understand that a website is not just the domain of the technical experts. It's about graphic design, it's about marketing, it's about PR. And all those people need to be involved far more than they were in the initial days of websites, where it really was just the HTML specialist. And now it's a living, breathing, you know, rapidly changing, dynamic showcase of the council to the world, you know.
Absolutely.
Yes. I heartily agree with you, Councillor Brooks. I'm a great believer in upgrading the search engine as well.
Well, yes, that would be. Chairman, if I may, I do
Yes.
have one, so I won't continue to wax lyrical. There was one question that I have on the KPIs. So on page 100 of our packs, there is one of the KPIs, and it's KPI 1 under objective 2. So number of young people attending, involved in work experience and project work opportunities. The target says 9, under review as set by a different team. So I think we just need to, where are we with actually making that a definite target, would be my first question. And then I also have a question about review of the strategy. So I know that we have the steering group, of which I myself am a member, and also some of the people on this committee. It feels like we ought to give this a bit of a tire kick. I'm thinking 12 months to give it let's get it
Yes.
get some people in. If everyone's in agreement with that, then I think we ought to, set our store out and decide how we're going to do that and when that's going to happen.
Fine. And under which vehicle would you be proposing that to be tire kicked? Our quarterly, is it quarterly apprenticed?
Steering group is quarterly.
Steering group, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would imagine the best place is to quarterly. We do provide updates quarterly to the steering group, which will feature on how we're achieving against this action plan and targets. So that would seem like a very good place to do that. And obviously, if required, we will refresh the strategy as we go along, as we're doing with the workforce strategy at appropriate times. Yeah. I think we now have clarity on the work experience placements. So the original target was 12-year 11 and 13, sorry. I'm in old school now. I was thinking of when I was at school then. It's now 11 and 13, isn't it, in secondary school? Yeah, there was basically a target that was set in the Environment Directorate for 12 placements per annum just from those 2 year groups. What we've done is now broaden that so that we're looking to do 9 work experience placements per annum. But we're trying to broaden that, and indeed one of the initiatives that is part of this apprenticeship strategy is to work and run a pilot scheme with a number of our secondary schools, particularly around our SEND placements. So I have a meeting in January with those schools to look at how we can facilitate mainstream pupils with SEND to access work experience, because that's been an area that has been identified that we could improve on. I think our special schools are very well geared up with their work experience programs. What's slightly lacking is the SEND placements from the mainstream. So as I say, that's been started with off by my colleagues in the SEND team. I'm now taking up that mantle because the lady who was dealing with the strategy officer has actually moved on from the council. So I have agreed to continue to take on that mantle and meet with the secondary schools in the new year to try and actually firm that up.
Okay.
Obviously, taking into account the challenges that we currently have about doing work experience placements with a COVID secure pandemic situation. But hopefully, she says, by the summer, which is probably when most of these placements will be looking to be done, we'll be in a better place to be able to facilitate them.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
So I have one more blue hand raised with Councillor Adrian Abbs.
Thank you very much, Chair. As a direct follow-on from what you were just saying, Abby, ways of working, lots of people talking about us not needing offices anymore. Exactly what you just said. How are we going to run apprenticeships if we've got no offices?
So the council will not be looking at having no officers. So that's what I would say first and foremost. Sorry. What we are doing is through the accommodation group, we're reviewing work styles and workspace going forward and how that will be done. However, we will have a mix of people in the office sometime in the week and other times not in the office and working from home or out in the field, as we currently do now, to be fair. Although we're much more predominantly working from home, we have always had that flexibility from working from home, and we've still continued to support apprenticeships when we have that flexible working already in place. So we will be able to continue.
You don't see any impact on the scheme?
No, what it will have to do is people will have to think about that. They will have to ensure that the right people, certainly in the early days of an apprentice starting, will need to make sure that they have a member of the team available for that apprentice to support them. So I would imagine for the first 2 to 3 months easily. But over time, that will change. And as I say, we have the situation now where, if I was to give you a generalization, because that's all I can do, because obviously it depends on the roles, you know, most staff are working 2 out of 5 days from home before the pandemic. So we will not have anybody working exclusively at home, and we will continue to have that mix of home and office. So I am confident that we can do that. And in many other businesses throughout the country, apprentices are working remotely and doing that. So, you know, and have been for many years, perhaps in the private sector. So we just need to get smarter about how we do that and support. There are other things we're putting in place, such as job mentors. So particularly for our disadvantaged and young apprentices, I'm training a cohort of 14 West Berkshire staff to be a job mentor, and that will be a person outside of their service generally who will be there, so that if somebody's struggling or doesn't really know how to approach, say, their line manager, because they've never had to do that because they're young and have not been in a workplace before, they will have somebody they can go to and discuss things with. And to try and help that. We will also, obviously they have the support of their line manager, they have the support of the training tutors. And in addition, we will be organising quarterly drop-in sessions for apprentices, so that apprentices can come together, share their experiences. HR will facilitate that, so that obviously we can pick up if there's any potential issues brewing, but also just for people to share what it's like and get to know other apprentices, so they have apprentice support from their own apprenticeship colleagues as well as the wider council. So hopefully some of those initiatives we're putting in place will also help to support them.
Thank you, Abby. I have no more blue hands raised, so I'm assuming, unless otherwise corrected, that you've all spoken as much as you wish. Nods from everybody? Yes. Okay. So can I have Jeff Brooks? Can I ask Jeff Brooks to propose this?
Very happy to propose,
yes,
Chairman.
and Councillor Stewart to second, please.
Very happy
Thank you very much.
I mean, sorry, could I just confirm that members are proposing and seconding the motion as amended on the document circulated last evening?
Yes.
Yes.
With avoidance of
Yes.
doubt, yeah, absolutely, Chairman.
Okay. So can I have your votes, please? Everybody? Yes. Right. That's everybody.
Chairman,
Okay. Thank you very much.
Chairman, I can therefore confirm that members have agreed to the apprenticeship strategy as set out in the report, and have also agreed to support a proposal for an additional resource to support its delivery. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I announce the next date of the meeting, I wish you luck, Abby and Joe, in your budget negotiations. I've been through that one before.
It's all right. I've already spoken to the Executive Director for Resources, and I'm assured that things are in hand ready for tomorrow. So I'm confident we shall get where we need to be.
Right. I'm just left to announce the next date then. It's the 12th of February 21 at 10:30 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for your commitment to this good cause. And bye-bye.